Hi, it's Sandy Parker, and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. So I have a birdie card from the Crazy Bird collection from Tim Holtz. I absolutely love the crazy dogs, the crazy birds. I don't have the crazy cats yet, but you never know. I might be jumping on that set anytime soon. I'm going to be also using another set called A Little Birdie Told Me. It's an old Stampin' Up set that's retired, but I wanted the verbiage from it. The sentiment says, "A little birdie told me," and that is on this bird stamp. And I'm going to mask off the bird so I only get the words, and I'm going to put that above these. And I'm going to color those in alcohol markers, and I thought I'd do that right off the bat. This is for our great niece. I'm sending her her card a little bit early because I want her to get her Halloween wreath in the mail, and her birthday is very close to mine in November. I'm a Halloween, or not Halloween, yeah, I'm a Thanksgiving baby, and she is as well. So she's very close to my date of birth. So I thought I would color these in as quickly as possible, and I'm going to be using, this is just some regular cardstock that's going to bleed through, so I'm going to make sure that I'm going to cut them out and put them on other paper. I'm using IB2 as my darkest color, and then I'm using BT3 as one of my little lighter colors. It should be lighter anyway, and hopefully it'll blend over it. And I'm also going to be using another blue. I thought these would be fun as bluebirds. I used Colorbox archival dye ink. Looks like this. Very inexpensive. I got it at Hobby Lobby, and I have been really enjoying that. I'm going to put a little bit more of that blue around this edge. Don't like that color enough. I hope this GT1 is a little darker and will blend a little bit better. Not blending that much better. These don't want to blend at all, which isn't a big deal. You know, it's not like I'm going for perfection, but what I'll do is I'll just color over it a couple times. What I find when you're dealing with markers that don't want to blend, if you just keep coloring over them, you'll find that they blend better. So just color over them a couple times like that, and then you'll find that your colors will start to blend you know, a lot better than they did before. I'm going to do the beak on this little fellow in CR1. Hopefully it'll be dark enough. It's a coral, but I thought I would add a little bit more darker orange on it as well. And I was going to do him in yellows and grays, or golds and grays. So I thought I would start with this CT3 and kind of make him look more like he is almost like a canary kind of bird. And then I'm doing the darkest tones first, and then I'll just blend out the lighter tones. I have to cut these out. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do the feet. I might end up stamping these on the paper and then cutting out, well, actually cutting these out and then cutting off the feet and maybe cutting off the hair, and then well, I'll just show it to you. And then what you do is you stamp underneath it, and then you lay this on top of your stamped images on top of it. It'll make sense when you see it. At least I'm trying to convince you it will. For the time being, I'm convincing you. If I didn't tell you, that was CT3, and this is GB1. and it's a completely different color family. It's more orange, but I thought it'd be kind of cool to do, you know, a little bit of different colorations on part of them, like that part. My last yellow I'm going with is CT1, which should be the lightest of that family of colors. And I'm just going to keep blending over, as I told you before. If you have trouble blending, just keep going over the spots, and eventually I think you'll like what you see. This is just a Bic market, and if you know me, you know that I don't really care about types of markers. I use every type of marker. I just like to go with price more than anything else. I'm going to see if I put a little bit of yellow on that, if it'll make it a little oranger, because that was almost red. That's not bad. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what I was talking about before with that stamping technique. I'm going to cut these out so you don't have to watch that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp them where I want them on the... Ouch! What did I tell you about these magnets? They're just killers. They come after me like wildebeest. I don't know what the deal is, but they're always trying to get to me. I don't know why. Why? Okay, that's what I'm going to do. And I'll just put the little birdie told me somewhere else. I guess that's okay. All right. Ink them up. Really, the important part are the parts that I'm going to have to cut off. Like, I might cut off that little plume on the top of their head, and definitely their feet. So the rest of them, it's not that important that I get all of it stamped really well. But these little pieces that, like their feet, I definitely will not be stamping their feet. It's not happening, or cutting their feet off. And that little plume on the top of their head, it's not going to happen. I'm just not going to do it. It's just not happening, people. And as long as it's the same color, and obviously black is black, I'm using the same ink I used before. I'm going to do their feet one more time because I want to make sure they're nice and bright. Just want to make sure all these little components that I would, that I'm going to want to be there are there. Good enough. Now this is a slider card. If you're not familiar with the slider card, a slider card is a card that has a component of it that moves back and forth. And in my case, I'm going to put that in there so my stamps don't mess up my MISTI. In my case, my birds are going to be connected by a kite. And I'm going to punch out with this label punch. Now you can do this with like, let's say you had a ruler and you cut 2 lines and then cut them so that you have a space that's as wide as this. It would work. You don't have to have this tool, but in my case it's a lot easier for me. I'm probably gonna have to cut it with my craft knife, so you'll see it the old-fashioned way. What you want to do is you want to get a good craft knife. And actually, I'll link my video up there of which is the best craft knife, so you have that information at hand. And you're going to want a thicker ruler beside your project, because you want it to you want to be able to cut without cutting your ruler. I forgot the name ruler. Oh, I didn't cut myself. Oh, that was lucky, huh? Okay, I'm going to start right here, and I'm just going to cut down to there. And then I'm going to move it up about, if my head's in the way, I'm sorry, I'm going to move it up about maybe 1/4 of an inch. I'm not exactly sure what that is. And then all you're going to do is make sure you're as close to the ends as possible. so that you don't have big big lines there. Big cut marks, I mean. Okay, that looks good. And then on this side, if my head's in the way again, I apologize. It's really hard to do this if you're not kind of on top of it. Clean up all these little edges. As long as this isn't wider than a penny, I'm okay. I just want to make sure that my edges are clean enough that it doesn't look kind of yucky. Here's what I do with my nail file. I just put it in there, go over the edges, and any edge I don't like, I just kind of file it until I like it. My kite is big and it's going to take up a lot of this space. Okay, that's what it looks like. There's no problem with that. I know you're thinking that doesn't look too pretty. Don't worry about it. It's not an issue. Before I do anything though, I do want to put my sun on there that I immediately lost. There it is. I'll just put that on there and I'll get a bright sun color. One called Summer Starfruit. Okay, then we're going to put that stamp that says "A Little Birdie Told Me." We need to mask off the bird. I'm looking for my Post-it note tape that I have right here, and all I'm going to do is mask anything that's really close to where it says "A Little Birdie Told Me," because I just want this. And again, we only want "A Little Birdie Told Me." And remember, this is on an angle, so it's going to be important that I remember that when I stamp. Okay, see how it's stamped? Now you're going to take off. I'm going to make sure that there is no stamped anything with ink on it left other than the words. Okay, I'm going to try and turn this so it stamps right. It's kind of hard to figure out what that's going to be. I'm doing that. Wish me luck. Hold your breath. It could be scary. Oh, look, I even got some weird leg there. Ugh, didn't even mask it enough. Well, obviously we're going to have to figure out something to do with that right there. Maybe I'll put a little birdie there. I don't know. We'll have to figure out something, huh? So let me cut out the other birds and I'll be right back. So I have my cutout done for my slider. Now it's just a matter of getting everything set up, like put on, and I'll show you that in a second. But I had stamped "A Little Birdie Told Me" on the card, and it didn't stamp right, so I stamped it on this little punch out, and I decided what I was going to do is I would color it with the same colors I used on the bird, and that way it would match everything else. And I thought that would be kind of cool. So I'm going to use the same colors as I said and just kind of go around the edges. And if you see a bunch of black ink on my hands, my fingernails, just ignore it. I've been having one of those days when everything ends up stuck to my hands in the family of inks. And this is CT2. And I go through the middle with it. I think I'm just going to go around the outer edge. I'll just hold my marker and just go around the outer edge and see how bad that looks. I can always punch this over and, stamp it again. Since I've done everything else 2 or 3 times, I might as well do this 2 or 3 times too, right? It's the black is just kind of bleeding into the yellow, which I like. I hope it looks okay to you too. I'm not going to say I hope at the end of this video. I'm sick of hearing myself say that. I feel stupid. Every time I hear myself say it, I feel dumb. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I'm not going to do it. Maybe I am, but I'm going to try not to. Okay, so let's get our birds and the birdie sentiment onto our piece. Do I need a ribbon there? I think a ribbon would be cool. I know it's right now it's all wrinkly, but here's how you get around the wrinkly. If you haven't seen me do this before, there are two systems. I have a hair straightener, but you have to actually plug it in and wait for it to, get all hot. I don't like to do that. So what I do is I spray a little bit of water on it, and then I go like this a few times, and then I just kind of dry it off, and it straightens itself out. And let me get my heat gun, and I'll dry it off. You really need to kind of straighten it before you dry it. Okay, let's dry it off. So I've straightened out my ribbon, and I put some tear tape on the back of it, and now I'm just going to take the backing off of it and stick it on our card. Not too shabby. I'm not unhappy with that. And then here's our little birdie told me. Put that right on there, and I put glue dots on the back of it so it'll flatten out. Next up, let's put our birdies down. Now, I don't necessarily think I want to pop them up, and the reason for that is because I don't want my my kite to run into trouble going between the two birds. And my kite is, I'm going to have to flip that. I'm going to have to make these purple as well. It was an orange kite, and she likes purple instead of orange, and so I changed the color on my kite. So let's put some tape runner on our birdies and get our birdies all laying down as perfectly as we can. Now, the reason we stamped that was so that I could cut out the rest of the bird and not worry about its feet or anything that I couldn't line up. Oh, I see, I forgot to cut around his beak. That's not a good thing. Now let's lay him down. I think I need to put a little bit more. I'll put a little wet glue behind there so that it lays down. I'm going to hold that down for just a second. There. Now that's better. And then we'll put some tear tape on the back of the other one. We'll call him Bird B. And you just line them up exactly with the stamp underneath so that you don't have to worry about anything being awry. Everything. See how his legs now look exactly like they were all part of that? It's how it works. It's a cool system. Okay, so next step, we take the back of the card, which is this, and we're going to take 2 pennies and some foam adhesive. I do better when I just use the little glue squares, maybe we'll call them, and you put those on your penny. Okay, and then it's now on one side, so now we need the other penny. And we're going to put that penny on this side of the opening. Okay? And then they need to be able to slide back and forth. Then the next thing you want to do is glue your slidey thing. And in this case, it's going to be this kite. You glue your slidey thing to your penny. And I'm going to use a glue dot to hold my kite onto my penny. Okay. Okay, now let's see if moving Now we're moving back and forth. See if I can. And what my plan is to take the string of the kite. I'm going to turn it this way. I'm going to get the string of the kite and I'm going to put it under his beak. I got to pick it up and do that, and then I'm going to stick it back down, and then that way it looks like he's fighting the other bird for the kite. And I'm going to cut off that string because it's too long. The end of it it's fraying and I don't want it to get into a problem. So I'm going to put a little glue on it and roll it around with my fingers until it's not sticky anymore. I'm going to lift up his beak again, put a little bit of adhesive under there, and I mean a little dollop, very little. And then I'm going to put the tail of the kite under the beak again and push down on the beak so that my beak and my tail and everything stay. Good boy, stay. And now he'll be able to move back and forth without any problem. And in the meantime, we need to pop them up on this. And so the way you do that is you take I'm going to take a big roll of double-sided adhesive and I'm going to run it on the sides of the card. Whoop. Got glue and everything else coming after me. It's really important that beside your coin you're going to have to put 2 thicknesses, because that section requires, I'm going to put a little on these edges too, because these where you have your coin, you need to make sure that it's really raised, and it needs to be raised more than everything else. So I'm going to take I have a pokey tool right here. I'll just take them off with that. You want to take off your backing and add another layer. It doesn't need to be as much, it just needs to be in the same area so that we can be sure that where that penny is, you're going to have enough height that your penny isn't going to stick on anything, because it's not got enough height behind it. That's what helps your penny move, is having that double layer. Okay, now got our card base, and we've got our card. Whoops, I gotta cut it. I have a little edge here of ribbon that's not exactly straight. Get that off. Make sure our card stays closed while I do this, because you don't want to screw this part up. Oh, I see that came out of his beak. I didn't really want it to. I wanted it to stay in there. See if I can get it back in there, because I wanted it to look like he's got a thing for that. He's not going to let go. And now it'll go back and forth. All you have to do is do that, and it rolls. Well, it goes one direction. I think it's because it's stuck in his. I'll just take it out of his beak. I'll just let it run back and forth. And then it just goes from birdie to birdie. I'm going to cut more of that tail off because it looks rough with my scissors that are supposed to be for that. There's that. And then on the inside I put It's Your Birthday, and I put this row of washi tape that's glittery, and then I have a button somewhere in all of this craziness right here, and I'm going to get a piece of thread to thread through it. This is a Lindsay the Frugal Crafter trick. You get a thin piece of paper, and I fold mine in half because it makes it easier to do this with. You just take your button again, You thread it up through the button with part of your paper, and make sure what you can see of your paper, it looks good once you push it through. I'll just tell you in a second. See how it kind of has a weird edge to it? You don't want that part to be what shows. You want it to look, you want your piece that's sticking through to look nice. You can do a couple things. You can twist it once or twice on the back to hold it in place, and then just cut off those little pieces. And then I'm going to use another glue dot right in the spot I want it, and then make sure it's flat and straight. And that so far is our card. Get our little tail so it's straight and flat. And the next thing we have to do, well, the only thing left, is our envelope. I think I'm just going to take that glittery tape and just do one little stripe across the bottom with it. And I want to stamp on the back of the envelope with my new stamp. It says, "Be a Fruit Loop in a world of Cheerios." And on the back of my card, as always, I made this for you. So here is a slider card with a kite that just wants to go wherever the mood takes it. This was a really fun card to make. It's something that I think everybody should do at least once, and I'd like it if you would tell your friends about my channel on social media. Please give this a thumbs up. Oh, look, I have a little foam on my finger. Please give this a thumbs up and subscribe and tell your friends about me on social media. And I hope you really enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.